welcome to actioncorp TV. This is episode 13. We're your hosts, Sean and Chris. We're going to be with you for, I think, the next half hour here, showing you some tidbits of information that we like to pass around on our message boards and our forums, which, by the way, you can join that and check out all the stuff that we have. Anything that we talk about on the show is always covered on the forums. That's where we draw our news from. So we're going to jump right into the first story here. Our first segment is, I've been getting, people that have watched the show know that I'm kind of the resident Xbox maniac here, and I've modded my Xbox and done a lot of things, upgraded the hard drive, flashed the onboard BIOS, things in the past. I'm going to start kind of doing some segments about actually how to do that kind of stuff. The first thing is a question I've been getting asked a little bit on the message boards about how to upgrade your hard drive. I already have the hard drive physically installed in my Xbox, so I can't really show that right now. But what I'm going to show you is basically a prep tool to use after you've installed your new hard drive physically, which is the easier of the two parts. You can use a disk. It's called the Slayer's Prep Tool, which can be found on the internet. Can't say where. You know how that goes. All the Xbox stuff is like that. You have to find it on your own. Basically, it's an ISO you download. It's about 100 megabytes burnt to a CDRW, and you boot that in your Xbox. And I'm going to show you here the boot sequence and show you the menu and go through the steps real quick on updating your hard drive.
We'll switch over to that right now.
All right, we're going to fire up the Xbox here. You'll see the regular boot sequence is normal, but you're going to notice that when it boots up here, it's going to say Matrix inside. It's kind of letting me know it's booting off the CDRW here.
Now, do you have to have a mod chip already installed on your Xbox to use this utility?
Yes, or it wouldn't even boot a CDRW to begin with.
Okay, that's obvious.
Plus, you wouldn't even be able to put in a modified hard drive, a bigger hard drive.
Now, this is the software booted off the disk.
Yes, this is the Slayer's disk itself, and you can see there's a lot of different options. You can save and back up your EEPROM and BIOS settings, different things like that. You can also go down, these are the main options, rebuild a new, larger hard drive, and you want to pick the version of the Xbox that you have. If it's a 1.0, 1.1, you can use these utilities. It'll automatically install your dashboard and things like that. We're going to do rebuild a new large drive here. This assumes that I've already backed up all my contents, my emulators, anything I would already have on my Xbox, backed it up onto my computer so I can FTP it back after I do this. So yes, I'm going to go ahead and choose yes, I want to go ahead and do this. I'm going to rebuild a version 1.0. That's what my Xbox is. It is very important to choose the model of Xbox that you own because the kernel is different. You can see the 4034 and the 4817 are the differences between the 1.0 and the version 1.1 Xboxes.
Are those the only two?
No, there is a new 1.2 now, but they haven't hacked into it enough yet. Somebody just figured out how to wire an actual wired 12-wire, the old style mod chip to it.
Oh, yeah.
But the new solderless, the Matrix and things like that, they don't work on the 1.2s yet, but they will.
I see.
So we're going to do the large 1.0 hard drive, and of course it asks you again.
Are you sure?
Full backup. We're going to say yes, and we'll whiz through this pretty quick, formatting all my drives, setting up everything. Now what it's doing is actually copying over the sounds and the actual Microsoft dashboard itself.
Now those were on the CD?
These were on the CD, and that is one of the reasons that you can't just track this CD down very easily, because that is the stuff from your Xbox. Again, it's up to fair use laws. I mean, I own my Xbox. I bought it. Both of them actually.
This software that you're copying over was already on your Xbox when you got it.
Exactly.
I mean, it was already there.
It's basically like reinstalling Windows. It's the same kind of thing. So this is copying the sounds you would use. When this is done, I will be able to pop the disk out of my Xbox. It will then boot from the new hard drive that you've installed, 40 gig, whatever. You can go up to 120 gig. We even have people on the message boards that have installed 120 gigs.
Wow.
That lets you be able to, copy over videos, a ton more emulators, copy, back up your Xbox games to your hard drive, which increases or decreases rather the load time dramatically to play the game off the hard drive instead of the disk, the original Xbox disk. It's a feature that Microsoft really should have put in, but of course they can't for copyright reasons of being able to pirate the game. So once it's done, like I said, you can boot back up. You have a fully functioning new, larger hard drive in your Xbox, ready to use, with the dashboard set up for you to FTP straight in. The default scheme that it uses is very good too, because it automatically shows you your IP address. It sets it up to use DHCP, so it'll just grab an IP off your network, easily. And you can go ahead and load up an FTP client and start dragging over videos and emulators and ROMs to your hard drive.
Sweet.
And use it right from there. All you have to do is, you can hand code some settings into your menu after that if you want. but it's basically set up to automatically scan directories for copied games, videos, things like that. And it includes some of the more standard applications like the Windows Media, or I'm sorry, not the Windows Media Player, the Xbox Media Player. It has that. It has Box Explorer, which is the Explorer application for the Xbox to let you be able to manipulate and move your files around on the Xbox. So basically, it sets you up, and you're ready to go after that, and then it's just a matter of customizing it however you want.
They've certainly made it pretty simple to do. I know that in the early days it was pretty much a hassle to get all that stuff on the hard drive, doing manual FTPs and so forth. They've really simplified that process a lot. How long does it take for the entire process to complete?
Generally, it's about 4 to 5 minutes, and most of that time is just for it copying over the files from the CD over to your hard drive. The actual format is done like that, and then you copy the rest of the stuff. Then after that, depending on how much stuff you had on your Xbox before, it'll take time to FTP that stuff back over and copy it back over. Now, it should be known that before you do this, if you're concerned with your saved game data that you have on your Xbox, the saves that it actually stores on the Xbox, not a memory card itself, there are 2 directories that you would be able to access. Once you boot this CD, you have FTP access into your Xbox right then, even though you haven't modified the hard drive yet. On your E partition, you'll have 2 directories, U data and T data, and that is basically all of your ripped songs that you have on your hard drive on your Xbox and any of your saved games. You can just FTP those off onto your computer, and then all of your saved game data is all backed up. You would then just copy it back to your hard drive after the process was finished, and all of your saves will be right there like they were before.
Sounds like they've pretty much thought of everything.
Yeah, it's very nice since the Xbox is laid out pretty much like a PC. I mean, it gives you that functionality, and if you're used to handling a PC and formatting the drive and FTPing back and forth, you can pretty much handle anything that the Xbox throws at you. It's really a great thing. It's really nice. Like I said, I wish Microsoft did embrace it more, but I know they can't for obvious legal reasons. But it does add a whole lot of the functionality to your Xbox to do this.
It's just another reason why the Xbox is one of the most hackable and hacker-friendly devices, consoles out there right now. It really is. And
definitely.
That's a good thing, for us hackers.
And it also, I mean, not just to upgrade your hard drive, but this is also useful if your hard drive would crash in your Xbox, and you don't want, maybe it's out of the warranty period, or you don't want to send it back to Microsoft because you have modified it or something. This allows you to just go out and buy a new hard drive, put it in your Xbox, and get you back up and running. So you don't have just a totally busted Xbox.
Right. I mean, you can protect your investment, basically.
Exactly.
Well, the next topic we're going to talk about here on our show, the next segment, is another movie trailer. We like showing movie trailers on actioncorp TV. And this next one is for a movie coming out really soon, The Incredible Hulk. I think the movie's just called Hulk, though. And personally, I think the trailer looks really cool. They've done a pretty good job, in my opinion, but we'll have a debate shortly after after the trailer here. We show it to you about what we think about it. But let's go ahead and show that now, The Hulk.
Look at you. Go off to college to be a great scientist.
Like your father.
There's something inside you so special. Someday you're going to share it with the whole world.
Let's see the gamma radiation.
Countdown started.
Nanomeds released.
Bruce, I can't stop it! Get out! Bruce, I don't understand what I just saw.
Except the gamma released. Son was already there.
My son is unique, and the world will not tolerate his existence.
What did you do to me?
I improved on nature a million times more powerful.
My God. This summer, I need everything we have to stop his movement.
You will only fuel his rage and make him stronger.
You know I never hurt you. When you're left with no choice.
I'm sending her a surprise visit from some friends of mine.
When you're pushed too far.
You pathetic freak.
Don't just get even. You're making me angry. Get mad. I don't think you're gonna like me when I'm angry. And unleash the hero within. director Ang Lee.
We're gonna have to watch that temper of yours.
See, I like that part where right before the end where he gets out of the tank and he's all going, "Rah!" He's like shaking and the water splashing on him. Now, I think the Hulk looks really cool. I think he looks really good. He looks realistic. He looks like the actor playing him, and I don't know. I like it the way like when he came out of the ground at that one part, and and he's got the brick in his hand, and you can see the dirt and the sweat on him. I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks pretty realistic.
On the flip side, I disagree. Just from what I've seen from the trailers and when I saw, we went and seen X2 and they had the big trailer up there, he always looks shiny. He looks to me like the old toys used to have where you could stretch him out, stuff like that. I just don't think he looks very good. I think he looks bloated. And there was a quote on the actioncorp forums from Wizard, from Bo actually, that said it looks like a quickly made NURBS demo from 3D Studio Max. It does. It looks like a bunched up bunch
That's
of
a little
blob.
excessive.
When he runs, it seems, I don't know, I guess I've been spoiled by things like Lord of the Rings, like Gollum. The motion capture for him was incredible. It just looks like it's not matched up very well to me, so I don't know. There was other expressed opinions about, it is based on a comic book, so what can you expect?
Right. I mean, I don't know how heavy he is. I'm going to say 600 pounds, or 800-pound guy. But I mean, you wouldn't expect to see a large guy like that running 100 miles an hour or jumping half a mile. But then he is the Hulk, and I mean, he's all muscle. So I think it's natural for him to move like that. It just looks awkward because you're not used to seeing something that huge move like that. I mean,
I've got a question.
Okay.
Did anybody read the comic book?
I did.
Was he that big?
He was made out to be that large in some of the episodes. He was never that big in the original movie, if you remember that.
I'd never seen him that big before.
But his head never tucked back into his neck that way. He has no neck. Even later on when he became, the gray version of the Hulk and stuff, he was chiseled. His arms and chest were squared off. He wasn't like a big blowed up sack of saline like he looks in this thing. So I'm not very impressed.
Right.
And
there were a lot of people. A lot of people have drawn the Hulk. So there's lots of different variations on how he looks.
That is true.
I mean, and this is just their realistic take on it.
But I'm not talking about big. I'm like 5 times bigger than a tank.
He's as big as a tank.
He freaking took the thing and spun it by his little turret and flipped it around and threw it across. It doesn't make any sense.
He's the Hulk.
He is the
That's what somebody said. That's what somebody said on the message board. It's like, he looks too big. And he's like, as in Hulk big? I mean, that's what the word Hulk means.
That's true, and we'll have to come back and review this topic again after we've seen the movie.
I think I've already said I'm going to see the movie for sure. So
yeah, we'll all see it.
Exactly.
Good summer flick.
Exactly.
All right.
Well, moving right along, we're going to go to something that we've had in previous episodes, and we're back on it again because it's getting closer to time to actually see this product, and that is the next version of Windows, which is codenamed Longhorn. We've gotten a couple of screenshots here that we're going to review and point out some things that we've noticed in the changes to the user interface here.
This is the new login screen for Longhorn, and I have to say...
No, don't say it.
I've got to say it. It must be said. This is exactly what the OS X login screen looks like. Now, the old Windows XP login screen did not look this way, but this is the OS X login screen. They've just literally, it's just the same thing. But that's a good thing, because the OS X login screen is a good login screen. But
well,
anyway.
I mean, how much more do you need? I mean, you just need to be able to click it and log in.
Yeah.
They can make it look.
It just amazes me how
they're doing
it just looks exactly the same. I mean, it's exactly the same.
Well, they're gonna. I mean, I'll have to admit. I'm glad. I'm a Windows person, but I'll have to admit. I mean, OS X, OS X. I mean, it is a beautiful operating system. It's very aesthetically pleasing. Everything is nice.
Elegantly simple is the word I like to use.
It is. It's laid out very well. If you're, used to the interface, it does take some getting used to if you're used to a PC. But once you do, I mean, I'm really big into how things are smoothed out and looked and placed well. And with all the transparent menus, I can only hope that Longhorn will have true transparent menus and anti-alias fonts and things the way it's supposed to.
I chose this next screenshot, obviously, because it also illustrates another thing that Microsoft is incorporating into Longhorn that also, in a way, sort of copies what Apple is doing with OS X. But again, I think it's a good thing, and I think they're making a right choice here. Obviously, you see these ridiculously huge icons and that have been scaled up. Now, they've been poorly scaled up because the icons obviously weren't designed to be that big. But what they're really showing off here is that they're changing the GDI, the graphics layer, for Longhorn to use the same kind of technology that is used in OS X, known as Quartz. Oh, hey, look, I'm on. Get me out of here!
You've been windowed.
I've been windowed. But they're using the same technology the same type of technology that they're using in OS X, which is known as Quartz in OS X, where basically they're using a lot less raster stuff and they're doing a lot more vector type stuff. So taking icons and stretching them really huge and stuff, they're able to pull that off now, and that's a good thing. And they're obviously showcasing that here on the icons that are behind me that you can't see right now. And then there's also this volume meter in the middle of the screen there, so that's kind of something else that OS X does. But anyway,
was that actually the volume meter, or was that the slider to control how big the icon?
I thought it was go back to that, Craig. I thought it was the audio meter. I didn't really look at it.
It looks the same, but it could be a slider for the size of how big the icon is.
You might be right, because I didn't think about that. I think you're right. I think it is the size of the icon. I'll have to read on that. I'm not sure. Okay. And this last screen we have here, I think this is the last screen, excuse me, is this is a kind of a new layout for device manager, although they don't call it device manager anymore in Longhorn, but basically this is your place where you can go and check up on your hardware and change device drivers and so forth and so on. And
it looks to me like they're just adding devices to the My Computer layout. I mean, that's the same way that XP handles My Computer, with a heading and then a device and a heading and a device and back and forth. And to me, the old hierarchical way of doing device manager was the best way to go. I mean, you had branches, you had it all came out from one centralized branch. You had, sound devices, you had hard drive controllers. That's the logical way to do it. It seems like they're trying to move that too much into just, Joe Blow being able to load up Device Manager and see what devices are there. And that's the kind of thing that really shouldn't be that easy when it comes to that. You shouldn't get into that area of the computer unless you know what you're doing. So, who wants to just be able to go in and wipe out their sound card drive?
That sounds like the technician in you talking.
It is. I can't help that. I mean, but it's going to generate business for me, because if it's that easy to go in and delete your sound card, hey, bring it in and we'll set it up.
Let them break it so you can fix it, right?
I have to say, too, I think that app dock bar that they have on the side there with the clock and everything is beautiful, but I'm the kind of person that don't like a humongous dock down the side. Back to the OS X version of it, with the auto sizing and being able to hide it away but bringing it back up. Yeah. I think that is the best way to do it. I don't like auto hide necessarily, but I think the size of the regular taskbar in Windows is pretty well tried and true, and they should keep it that way.
You're worried about the screen real estate that's being used by that.
Exactly,
what you're saying.
Exactly. It looks very big and bulky, and up the side just has never been a really nice and proven way to do a taskbar. So, that's stuff that I'm sure they'll change before it comes out. Through a lot of beta testing, they'll get that taken care of and user feedback. So,
I mean, it does take up a lot of screen real estate right there, it seems. I mean, and I've seen other screenshots where they can move that around and they can put it at the bottom underneath the taskbar, which is kind of cool. But again, it's just like this big on your screen, so I don't know who's going to run it that big.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that's seen MSN Explorer knows that Microsoft tries to push that anyway, because they stack the same kind of stuff down the side of the screen in MSN Explorer to try to give you more options and easier access to the stuff that you want. But it just ends up, I mean, if you're not running anything higher than 1024 by 768, it's just a waste of space, it seems like to me.
Yeah.
So
our next subject we're going to talk about, our next segment as we call it here, is Apple last week on Monday released a whole new music service, which they call the iTunes Music Store. And the iTunes Music Store is basically a store online, but it's only accessible through the iTunes program, the MP3 player. And this is basically a whole new thing that they've done. Nobody's doing it quite like they're doing it, where you can go in through iTunes and, using your Apple Store account, make purchases of individual tracks or entire albums. Individual tracks cost 99 cents a piece. Entire albums typically cost about $9. If it's a double CD album, then it costs twice that. Or if it's an album that only has, say, 4 tracks on it, then they usually adjust the price accordingly. But it's the first service to ever offer you where you can just get a single track for 99 cents, download it, and it's yours. You get a broad set of ownership rights to that music. You can copy it up to 3. You can copy that music onto 3 different Macintoshes and eventually up to PCs as well. And you can put it onto an unlimited number of iPods, and you can burn it onto an unlimited number of CDs. And no other online music sales service can give you that kind of broad rights. And Apple worked for 2 years with all of the 5 major record labels to get those kinds of access broad user rights for their music like that. And they've got about 200,000 songs on the store right now, and they're adding new ones every day. A lot of big name artists, as well as a lot of exclusive tracks that you can't get anywhere else, even on CD. You can't get these tracks anywhere but at their music store. Now, I've purchased about 2 CDs worth of music through this store. Actually, I've purchased more than that. I actually purchased 2 whole CDs, but then I've purchased about 5 or 6 individual tracks as well. Their stats are showing that they've sold over 1 million songs already. Just within the first week, they sold over 1 million songs on this service, and over half of those, 500,000 of those songs, were sold as entire albums. A lot of people were worried when Apple was talking about debuting this service. The rumors were out, I should say, and they were saying that, if you start selling songs one at a time, that's going to hurt album sales, and people won't want to buy albums anymore. But it turns out that's not the case. They're learning, they're finding out that people, $9 an album is a great deal, so they're going to go and people are doing that. But they also give you that capability to just go on, you hear this song on the radio, and you say, oh man, I love that song. But that's the only song you want from that artist. Well, you now have that capability to just go out, buy that one song for 99 cents, instant gratification, one-click shopping, which is something that only Apple and Amazon provide. I think they're the only ones who have the whatever it's called,
the patent.
The patent, thank you.
Amazon owns the patent, I think.
The only ones who have the patent to do that one-click shopping. So it is really easy to use. The nice thing about them integrating it into iTunes, I thought they were going to make a website at first, but it turns out that it's actually integrated inside of iTunes, and that's really a smart thing, because what I didn't think about until I used it.
It's really smart because what are they going to do for the PC people? Have they said anything yet?
Well, I'm getting to that in just a second.
Okay.
But what's really cool about having it in iTunes that I didn't think about until I used it was that when you download your music, it's already there. It's in your library already. I mean, a lot of these other services, you download the file and you put it on your hard disk somewhere, and you put it in some folder, and you got to go find it and import it into your music software. This, boom, one click, and it's literally right there. And they've got super fast servers because they use the same Akamai servers that are scattered all over the United States to deliver this content. These are the same ones they use to deliver movie trailers. So everything's super fast. All the downloads are ridiculously fast, and it's great. And Craig asked about Windows users. Apple has committed, well, I don't know if committed is the right word. They have said that they are going to release this store for Windows users before the end of the year. But they've been real hesitant about how they said they're going to do it. But in several articles, one in particular, an interview with Steve Jobs, definitely hints to the fact that they're talking about releasing a version of iTunes for the PC.
Oh, that would be great.
And they're going to actually release a version of iTunes for the PC, and that would have the store built into it, of course. And that's obviously pretty wild, because if you know anything about Apple and you know anything about the Macintosh, you know that Steve Jobs is very protective of these things that are only available on the Mac, Mac exclusives. And iTunes, one of the most popular programs for the Macintosh. It's a huge, probably one of the most downloaded applications ever from their website. And here they are getting ready to port that to Windows. So now they haven't committed to that yet, but it pretty much looks like that's what they're going to do. So that'll be pretty interesting.
Which opens up a comment for me that's a debate that we've had before, albeit not on the show, and that's if they're easing into kind of getting it this way. There's all those rumors again about OS X running on an Intel machine back at Apple. So how could you never know. You never know. I mean, nobody ever thought that would ever make sense. This is come out.
If they do this, this is no different than them bringing iPods to Windows users, just because they know they can make sales there. It's not an effort to move to the x86 platform, in my opinion, and it's certainly, and if anything, it's slightly bad because they're giving away something that's precious to Mac users, to Windows users now. But I think it'd be worth it because they've already sold over 1 million songs in 1 week on this service, and that's only from the number of Mac users who happen to use it. And the Mac users are, we're talking about 5% of market share. I mean, imagine when they open this thing up to PC users, how much sales they're going to get through this service is unreal. I mean, it's going to be a lot. So.
Well, I hope they do, because iTunes is incredible software,
it's great.
And the iPod itself is an incredible piece of hardware. And before, the Windows PC users, if you had an iPod for your PC, you had to use Music Match.
That's what comes with it, yeah.
Do it. And I personally do not like Music Match. I think it's a very, very, back to the word bloated, but it's a very bloated piece of software.
And they just released a new version that comes with the iPod, but still it's that. Speaking of iPod, as we zoom off the screen,
here we go.
This is the brand new iPod. This is something they released the same day as the new music service. all new iPods. The newest features, the most obvious new feature, the one they don't seem to talk about a whole lot for some reason, go back, Craig, is that the 4 buttons along the top, just above the scroll wheel now. They used to, on all the old iPods, just have the scroll wheel, which is one touch and everything. And what they've decided to add those 4 buttons, because those are the same 4 buttons you get on all these peripherals you see, like on the headphones. They have those 4 buttons, and then like you buy the $800 jacket where you can put your iPod in, and it's got the controls on the sleeve. And that's the same 4 buttons they have on the sleeve. So, but they totally removed all the mechanics except the hard drive. Nothing moves now. The scroll wheel is totally touch now, like kind of like the power button on the old G4 Cube, and all the buttons are like that too. There's no moving parts at all anymore. They've made it significantly thinner, and they've made it significantly lighter, if you can believe that. All of the models are now no wider than 2 CDs in their jewel cases stacked up, and they're lighter than 2 CDs in their jewel cases. If you held them in your hand, the iPods are lighter than that. Unbelievable. Let's go ahead and bring up the second picture, Craig. And you'll see here that they've also changed where they've located some of the stuff on it. For example, the FireWire port is no longer on the top, which is shown in the picture above. That's the top of the iPod. The FireWire has actually been moved to the bottom, and it's a new kind of long, elongated slot there. And the reason they've done that is picture 3, which is a dock.
Got a dock.
Now they've got a dock accessory, and one of the most requested features for the new iPod was to be able to just walk into your room, sit it in the dock, have it charged through FireWire, and sync up through iTunes automatically, which again, this is the only MP3 player that has auto sync, where it automatically syncs up your library of music with the iPod with your MP3 player. That's a patent pending that Apple owns. Also, although I don't have a picture of it on this, the dock also has on the back another one of the most requested features, which is a line out. And so now you can, say for example, buy an additional dock, have it hook up to your stereo at all times, and maybe you come home from work and you pop your iPod into the dock that's next to your home stereo, and then boom, you've got all your music on your home stereo.
See, I don't understand this. I mean, these are things that it seem like you would just look at these devices and go, duh. Why didn't they do this way back? I mean, that seems like it's so natural to be able to take a device that's you're going to put your whole, album collection on, or download these musics and things like that, and you're going to be able to just dock it and play it through the stereo. So it seems like it's something they were done a long time ago, and once again, it makes Apple look like they're the first ones, to innovate and do this, but it's something that should have been done so long ago that it's almost ridiculous.
Yeah. One last thing about the new iPod I want to mention before we end the show here, and that is that they've also... Oh man, I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry. There was something about the iPod I was about to mention before we quit out here, but it was about they've added some new software to it. Oh, they've added the on-the-go playlist, which is another big feature where you can actually create playlists now.
And solitaire.
Yeah, it comes with solitaire. It comes with a little hangman, or not a hangman game, but like a little I don't know, like that game on the Atari where you drop out of parachutes. But anyway, yeah, it does have that. Yeah, it's called Parachutes. But also it has this big thing called on-the-go playlists, where you can literally go in and create playlists on the go just by selecting songs, and so that's kind of nice.
You couldn't do that before?
No, this is a new feature. Now I think another MP3 player had that first, but now that's on the iPod too. So, and it's a pretty good deal. 10, 15, and 30 gigabytes now, and the lowest one is $299 for 10 gig, and that's their most popular model.
But 10 gigs worth of songs, I mean, it's
that's
just an incredible amount of music. And the thing is tiny. It looks great. It looks incredible. I would get one if I had the money. But with this AC,
I think we all would.
Yeah, exactly.
Someday I will own one iPod. I think that's all we got for this episode. We hope those of you who tuned in enjoyed it. I'm not sure when we're going to do our next show, but it will certainly be within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, just keep an eye on the message board. We'll have it on the front page whenever we're going to do a show. We're trying to keep kind of consistent to do that. So
thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at actioncorp.net.